Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Well, I'm based out of Oakland, and so my studio's here. I'm from Sacramento. I haven't gone very far. I really like I really like Northern California. I
Me
did
too.
my undergrad at UC Davis for anthropology, actually,
Mhm.
and film, because I was thinking of doing ethnographic film. Somehow that path got a little deterred into painting. It was something I was always doing on the side, but never like thinking about with a lot of intentionality, just like working. And my mom is a crafter, so I just remember growing up and doing a bunch of, instead of like playing with toys, we would make things.
Mm.
So always tinkering, doing planting things in the garden on the weekends, building something, always making stuff. So it just kind of felt like natural to move into that at some point. So when it came time for grad school, I just took the chance, and I happened to have a portfolio full of paintings and applied to a bunch of schools, and I got into Boston University, and I did my MFA program there and graduated in 2013. And I've just been painting away since, and somehow just I keep making more and more and more. um, yeah, so that's kind of my little origin story for painting. Um,
Awesome.
and then within that, I have been jumping through mediums as well. So like doing printmaking and ceramics and putting them back and forth, always as a way of making objects to then incorporate into my paintings, like wallpaper and fabric, and just kind of having this very holistic approach. And I think the reality is I'm just a very curious person, and I like to play, and I like to have these conversations, not just with myself, but also artists of the past and the contemporaries. So it's always kind of like pulling these little references here and there and trying to incorporate them into a whole and just playing with that. You can kind of
Yeah.
see my process, which is setting up installations and then painting from them. I could even take
Yeah,
I
take us
didn't
there.
Yeah,
prepare
take us.
a
Take
complete
us.
slideshow because I feel like the studio itself shows so much of that process, and I have a few.
Yeah, I totally
It's
agree with you. And I think like show us a work so everybody can understand kind of like
yeah.
when you came on the Zoom, now that I know your work, I was like, your studio looks exactly like your work. It's
It's
kind of
like being
phenomenal.
inside
It's like being
of Anna
inside of a
Valdez
painting.
painting. It's really crazy. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And then also you're like then making the ceramics that are sometimes show up in your painting. So
Yeah, so I like things to kind of hop back and forth, and this is kind of my ceramic station right here where I have everything going, and then I'm working on those surfaces and then putting them back into um, my installations. I just really didn't want to have to rely on finding things all of the time to
yeah.
incorporate. So just like putting little drawings into the paintings, I wanted to make little objects to put into the paintings and pull back and forth. I want to try to share my screen. I
All
have
Do it.
right.
never done it.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna
do
try.
it. We can help you.
I'm
And
praying you don't see how dirty my desktop is.
oh, and believe me, we all have everyone here has dirty desktops, and I also usually need my 9-year-old to come help me share my screen. So Christine can help you. I cannot.
Yeah. I have a habit of
Oh,
30 tabs up at once. So you can
You want Chris?
pick the one that's like just your Chrome browser or whatever, so you don't have to share your desktop.
Or
yeah.
if you want Christine to pull up your website or something.
I
she
can also
do that.
share it if you like.
You know what? Maybe you can
Do
just
that. Do that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Tell
I'm
me
on it.
while she's doing that, will you talk to me about the oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the objects that go into these paintings. Oh my god.
So,
Like,
I mean, a lot of them are things that I've found, things that have been given to me, things that are collected. They're just kind of this archive, actually, of stuff that gets put back and forth between each painting. So, in any given painting, you'll see an object kind of show up in more than one. Like this vase in particular is in probably 10 paintings. So
wow.
they have their own characters too. So they become like the figure. I think like they,
Oh yeah, we just saw this setup
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, we literally just saw that.
And then
Um,
this is another version, the next painting over is right here, which is kind of a side of that particular painting if I had moved over in my installation and then changed around a little bit. So you can kind of see a little bit of that. And then here again is like putting the drawing of the actual painting within. So it's just these plays of space and referencing the painting itself. Another vase that I had made and then put into, which is also, if you hold on for a second.
They're so sort of incredibly art historical in a funny way with these like.
And then like a little drawing I did a really long time, or little painting from a really long time ago, which then I messed up. But so there's just a lot of like play and reference to itself. So they all become autobiographical too. Like I went to the Sutro baths in San Francisco a few months ago, and instead of making a painting just about that or like a window, I wanted to put it onto a vessel and then have it in the painting. So there's a lot of push and pull.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, like, there really, there really are like these kind of art historical tropes. Of course, with the patterning and the still life, that's an incredibly traditional genre that you're kind of reimagining. But these skulls and sculptures and the busts in particular are, to me, just this incredibly contemporary take on the language of painting practice from largely Western tradition, I would say. But
well, I think my favorite part about incorporating them is the fact that I think when people think about still life, they're thinking about school, right?
Yeah.
You're learning how to paint. And I think like every painter is always continuing to learn how to paint. I'm just doing it kind of like on the nose a little bit about like, okay, we're going to keep looking at these objects in this similar arrangement or a very dissimilar arrangement and playing with them back and forth and using very traditional things like skulls or the Venus bust or a vase and fabrics and different textures. And so even the crates act as like a box. And
wow, yeah, of course.
So yeah, it's just kind of a way of playing with that idea of continually learning how to paint.
And very much like a construction of space, right? There's this overall patterning that creates a flatness, but with the boxes and the levels and the surfaces, there is this illusion, this traditional kind of like illusion of depth and the window and the round vase and like there's kind of this great art historical play.
Yeah, very much a rock sort of reference.
Very, very much. I mean, I see we art a little bit too. Oh, I love this work. So
you can kind of see too how that particular bust is going to end up in a few other paintings as it is located right here. And I'm playing with even more space with that so you can see yourself in it. And
all this stuff in your studio. The bust is fabulous, and sort of the language of painting from a bust is, of course, this traditional like French Academy way of learning to paint, right?
A very Western, yes.
But, very Western.
Yeah.
And like even the face of this woman is this like idealized neoclassical Western figure, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, sometimes her face changes from each painting to painting. It's never the same. So sometimes I realize it's like based on my mood more than what the bust actually looks like. And this one, she's kind of like stoic and kind of looking like, I don't know about this, but
I love that you have like reinvented this Western academic trope to be like not about exact likeness, which of course is what it was about, but to be about like imparting your own kind of day-to-day psyche into it. That's pretty great. I was telling you right before we got on the public webinar that at the Cantor I had done this show called Mining the Ancient that I really loved and would love to return to, and it was about like artists, contemporary artists using the language of antiquity and the fragments, and I wish I had known your work then, because man, it would have been good in that show.
It's almost like this piece right here, which is a fragment of
Oh
Oh
my
yeah, of an
gosh.
actual Greek face.
Greek face,
Yes.
painted
Oh.
onto a ceramic slab,
Yeah,
and then put into a lot of other paintings too. So
You're really an extraordinary colorist, and looking at the world you surround yourself in, that is clear to me why. The clean colors, the sort of vibrancy of the colors, staying so unmuddy is pretty powerful in such a busy composition as well.
yeah, and it's like something so intuitive too, because I just think like, I mean, maybe because we're in California and we just are used to seeing so much color and it's so vibrant. But I feel like that is a strength and just something that I get really excited about. And you get really, I don't know, it's like worth all the time that you're spending painting to just play with the
Yeah.
color and to play with the space. And I think that's kind of very much representative of who I am, is like every time I have a question about how to do something, I just do it. And I keep like
Yeah.
working into something and working out of it. And just always trying to question like, what would it look like if I did this, or if I took this piece and put it into here? So, I mean, that might sound like a lot, but it's just
No.
a lot of play happening in here.
And that's what having a studio practice is about. And I think
Yeah.
of everyone we've talked to tonight, sort of seeing your studio makes the process and the practice feel incredibly present. And so to me, that's the favorite part forever of my job, that I get to
Mhm.
see this behind the scenes stuff. So I'm really grateful that you're sharing it with our
Yep.
audience. Thank you
Thank you
so
so much, Anna.
much.
Yeah,
So
thanks so much
fun to
for
meet
having
you.
me.